What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Thursday morning, about 9:20. It's game day. Lions fans, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. Why would this be playing in my ear again? Unbelievable. All right. We should be good now. Who we got over here? 1224. There he is. What's going on? So it's Thursday, and later tonight, obviously Thursday night football. Lions fans, Cowboys fans too, for that matter, have that anxious feeling right now, that pit in your stomach. You have trouble swallowing. You're like, I got work to do, but I got to stay focused, but I can't really stay focused. If you're into it as much as I am, and hey, Zeus, what's going on, buddy? I've been in Alabama all week back at home. Good for you. So, if you follow this stuff closely and you have your favorite team, and I obviously do this for a show purpose, and I've, former coach, longtime business, all of that type of stuff. But at my, the fabric of me is a fan, which is short for, of course, fanatic. And Lions has been my life since I was born, since, I don't know, my dad and brother probably got me into it at 5, 6 years old. And you follow it for all of those years, and you've never won a Super Bowl. And for crying out loud, you were never close. And then over the last 4 years, in particular, one year, you get to the NFC Championship game, you're close. You're right there. You're up 17 at half. It's everything you've been waiting for. And then in a moment, it's taken away. And so us Lions fans, welcome everybody to the show. Thanks for joining in. Hopefully you stay with. And here we are in year 5 of my prediction, 3 weeks after Dan Campbell took the job. I put it out there, Lions to be in the Super Bowl within 5 years. This is year 5. Holy cow, backs against the wall. This feels like, when you were in school, and maybe some of you watching are still in school. It's that you have time to prepare for a test, and you wait and you wait and you wait and wait and wait. And then you're like, yeah, I like it better this way. So I'm just going to wait until 2 days before or the night before. I'm going to pull a late night shift, and I'm going to stay up to midnight or 1. And you're supposed to be wherever your class is at 8 a.m. And it's that pit feeling, and it's that crunching for a test. That's what this feels like. As a fan and somebody who covers the Lions, that's precisely what this feels like. You've had opportunity, sure, injuries, all of that type of stuff. Welcome to the show. All of that type of stuff happens, and it's like you're preparing, you're trying to put yourself in the best possible position. Russia, wow. You're trying to put yourself in the best possible position, and you're up against it. You're at that midnight hour, literally at that midnight hour, and you have no tomorrow. This is it for the Lions and for the Cowboys, which makes this really interesting tonight. Ovechkin, Putin, Vaca. Wow. I don't know if that's a spammer or if that's for real and somebody's legitimately from Russia. Man, technology and live streaming all over the world. That's wild. It's fascinating as can be. So before I continue, I'm going to get into the Lions and the Cowboys, the game tonight, keys for both teams, kind of what I think is going to happen, my prediction. And then also I want to touch, I'm not going to be here forever. It's probably 40 minutes or less or so. I've got a full jam-packed day I've got to get to, but I definitely wanted to get on now versus later. I wanted to be one of the earlier people to get on and get my thoughts out there before everybody else jumps in. I also want to talk about windows for sports teams. And I Woodward Sports guys, if you're watching Easy, was going back and forth with him yesterday. I've gone back and forth with a lot of people over the years. I just don't believe in windows of winning for great organizations. I don't. Windows are for poor organizations. I'll explain the reasons why on that. And of course, like I said, break down the Lions and kind of what I think is about to happen. And what I think should happen. And I hope that it does. I wish I had a direct line into Allen Park and could talk about the Lions. So if you guys are looking at the top of the screen there, if you're watching and not just listening, there's a QR code there. Go ahead and take your phone, scan that, and it'll take you right to our YouTube page, and smash the subscribe button. A lot more things going up there. Love to have you as a subscriber. If you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, the number one place all of our material goes first is on X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end. YouTube is at PB Sports Talk. Just scan that QR code. You're there. It's nice and easy. Hit that subscribe button and the notify button as well, so that you get the updates as things come in. I don't overwhelm the system. The maximum that there ever is 2 to 3 times a day, but generally it's once. I'm trying to get that consistent to where it's once, maybe twice a day, occasionally 3 if it's a heavy sports day or a couple of days. So please, if you could do that, share it with somebody. If you'd like interesting perspective that's different from most of what you see out there, this is the place to be. I'm going to give you the sports angle. I'm going to give you the angle from myself as a former 7-time championship basketball coach and a long-time entrepreneur, basically 30, 35 years, and the 180 of how sports works. The fan side of it, right? The player and fan side of it, the coaching side, and then the business side of it, the franchise side of it. How those 3 components or elements intertwine and how they mesh. And a lot of people who have one of these think about it solely from a fan's perspective. Not everybody. Some are former players that do that, and they have that unique perspective. Some have all 3. They've played, they've, they're a fan, and they've done it in business. But a lot of people speak strictly from a fanatical standpoint. I pride myself and our brand on giving it in a different light in those 3 elements: fan, former coach, and of course, business owner. Detroit Tigers, Detroit Lions. Pecker Ween. Okay, welcome to the show. So, fanatic, former coach, Pistons. You're forgetting one. You got one more to go, and the business side of it. All right. So tonight's game. Let's get to it. It is I coined it. There you go, Red Wings. I coined it a season on the brink because honestly, it really is. It has all come down to one game. I mean, you have to win out. You absolutely have to win out. I'll show the remaining schedule here in a moment. In the beginning of the year, I picked them at 13-4, and I said worst case scenario was 12-5. So you're 7-5 now. You have 5 games left, including tonight. You win out, you're 12-5. You win out, there is a great chance you're in the playoffs. If you lose even one more game, there's a great chance you miss the playoffs. So that's why I named it the brink. You're literally on the brink of your season being over in terms of the playoffs. And the run and the prediction of the run that I laid out there and plastered it everywhere goes down in flames with this season. Before I get into tonight's thing, I have to say this again. I talk about this all the time. And there's a lot of people that are frustrated and they say it's not any fun anymore because there's so many injuries. You get close. Well, that's kind of life, right? It's not just sports, it's life. It happens in business, it happens in relationships, it happens in, the financial aspect of our lives. There's ebb and flow, there's up and down. Things don't always go right. That's, basically what makes life life. And what we are going through as Lions fans is no different than any other team in any other sport for that matter. If you just think about Dallas and you think of DeMarvion Overshown, who's now back, who's probably the best player on their defense, and it's amazing how quickly he has come back to a level of performance that is so close to what he had prior to the injury. Blew his knee out in every possible way. So the Cowboys went through that. I'm just waiting for my Motor City Bengals to start playing ball again in Lakeland. Lions are probably cooked, to be honest. Too many injuries again. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Start playing ball in Lakeland. Oh, the Tigers. So you're from Florida? I'm in Florida as well. But nevertheless, every team struggles with the injury component, just like the Lions. Do we have a lot of it? Does it seem like it's overwhelming and overloaded kind of all at once? Last year basically broke a record for it. And then again this year, and then you lose Laporta, but then you lose Wright right behind him. And then you find out Kirby Joseph's got deterioration in his knee. And, you know, may jeopardize his entire career. Brock Wright's neck is apparently a long-term condition. You know, nice backup tight end, really good blocker out of Notre Dame. Great compliment for Laporta. You're both down. So you're down to, you know, guys kind of basically off the street, or that, you know, maybe get 6, 8, 10 snaps a game maximum, or they play special teams type of thing. So you've got to adjust. You've got to adapt. How many teams out there would love to lose guys like that, but still have a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is questionable tonight. We don't know for sure if he'll come out. And you have a guy like Tesla too. You got Khalif Raymond's out too. How many teams don't even have that as an option? So before we feel all sorry about ourselves and we start getting so frustrated and pissed off at the world, we actually have it pretty good. How are you going to have a Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield? And there's ways to get around this. Does it mean it's easy? No. Does it mean it doesn't require you to be creative and be different? No, it doesn't mean that. It does mean you do need to be creative, and you need to find ways. You need to adapt and adjust and innovate. And Campbell has tried to do some of that, and everybody's beating him up for it. And they're, you know, abusing him because of the fourth down calls. You got to remember how you got on the map. There are some times you need to pull back, but you must when you have injuries like this, you must put yourself in a position to answer the bell to those injuries. Tonight is another opportunity to do that. So I don't believe they, as a franchise and as players, are feeling sorry for themselves, but I see it all day, every day, that fans all over are feeling sorry for ourselves and themselves about this injuries. And all due respect, injuries again. Screw that. Play through it. You got talent upon talent upon talent. Figure it out. And now is a chance. It's a moment historically for the Detroit Lions tonight on Thursday Night Football, national television, against arguably, and I don't know if I agree with this anymore, but arguably the greatest brand in sports, the Dallas Cowboys, so-called America's team, Jerry Jones, blah, blah. A team that specially gets to wear special uniforms, and the Lions are going to be in their white unis tonight. That's the type of treatment that they get. And they're in a must-win situation. So you got two teams. One is rolling, the Cowboys. One is reeling, the Lions. And they're going to lace it up at Ford Field tonight. And it's basically winner take all until next week. Loser goes home. Dallas literally and figuratively goes home at what? They're 6-5-1 right now. They go 6-6-1, and they're cooked. They're done. And the Lions lose. They go to 7-6, and you're done. Cowboys would be what? 7-6-1. Let me double check here. Sorry. Cowboys would be 7-5-1 with a win. Lions would be 7-6. Either way, whoever loses, it's over. Whoever wins is still in it. Everything on the line. This is what you dream of as a coach. It's what you dream of as a player. Now, just like that test that you want to take, that you have plenty of time to prepare for, that you want to ace, you want to get an 85 and higher or something like that. You'd love to get 90 or higher and get an A, right? But hey, you would love to prepare for it. Weeks out, be done, go into the test, fully prepared. Nervousness and anxiety comes usually from a lack of preparation in terms of that. And you get all worked up the night before a test. It's because you didn't study. It's because you didn't prepare, right? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So in the context of sport, they had opportunities and they blew some of them. Some of it was injuries. Some of it wasn't. And so here you are. The great Herb Brooks, the head coach of, the United States Olympic hockey team, the Miracle on Ice. Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what the Lions have tonight. It's an opportunity to be great. It's an opportunity to absolutely be resilient at a level that everybody will aspire to want to be. The cards are down. You replaced your old coordinator. You basically benched him. Your head coach took over the play calling duties. You have injuries. You're not playing well. You just played a week ago, and you didn't play very well on Thanksgiving. Your back's against the wall. You have everything to gain, basically, and nothing to lose at this point. It kind of sounds contradictory what I'm saying there. But if you lose, it's just done. You have everything to gain by winning. And it's about going out there tonight and in one, looks like the injuries are going to ruin another Lions season. Zach, I like it. If you've been listening, I'm hitting on that right now about why that can't happen, why it can't be an excuse, why you have to play through it. This is why teams build depth. This is why the lesser teams that don't have depth, when they get injuries, they just get crushed. Now, you have enough of them, it's going to affect everybody, no matter how good you are. But did you notice, what the 49ers are doing? What are they, 9-4? And they lost Warner and Bosa, and they keep winning. And they lost Purdy there. And you go to Mac Jones. You've got to figure out a way to get through it. And here we go again. And even if St. Brown plays, he isn't 100%. We know that. So you have Jameson Williams, probably the fastest guy in the NFL. You have Tesla, the dude just makes catches like that are either significantly, third down or they're touchdown or they're one-handed grabs. Here's your opportunity, man. You got to get him the ball, Goff. If I'm Dan Campbell and I'm controlling that play sheet, listen, this isn't about putting offensive linemen in an eligible position and trying to do all this fancy tricked up stuff. It's really going to end up being about a lot of the basics and can you execute at that level? I'm telling you this too, as a longtime former coach, we can fancy the hell out of it. It's going to come down to the basics. And I know it sounds ridiculous a lot of times. It sounds like coach speak, but you got to go back to the basics. You got to go back to the fundamentals. You got to execute at the smallest and most basic levels. So obviously you have to be able to run the ball tonight. You got to be able to stop the ball. Dallas is explosive. What Pickens has meant to that team, and whether it's the opportunity that he's been given, whether that's being a side of weapons like CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson and Dak Prescott raising his game, and he didn't have that in Pittsburgh with that archaic system over there. Maybe it's that, or maybe, he just grown, but they're dynamic now, and they can beat you in a number of ways. And offensive line-wise, they're protecting Prescott. Javonte Williams has been reborn. He's able to do things. They can get the ball wherever they want. They can do short, mid, long type offense and layer throws because he has the time, and he's playing well. So on the Lions end of things, don't trick it up with reverses and flea flickers and things like that. Sure, if it's there and you really see something on film, maybe mix something like that in. But you have to get the ball in your playmaker's hands in space. It just really comes down to that. As good as Dallas is at the skill position level, I'm here to tell you they don't have Jahmyr Gibbs and they don't have Jameson Williams. We do. So you have to scheme up a way to get those guys the ball. Obviously, Gibbs is a running back. So you're looking to run the ball to him. You're going to look to screen to him. But time to get a little bit creative, Dan. And you are creative. And everybody thinks Ben Johnson did everything on his own. He didn't do it all on his own. A lot of it came from Dan Campbell, and Ben Johnson kind of put his own on it. Line up Gibbs in the slot. Move him around. Use a two-back set with Montgomery and him in there. Let's do some hurry up a little bit. It doesn't just have to be in a 2-minute situation. You're stagnant right now. You're down guys. You've got to make plays. And quite frankly, at home tonight, you've got to get out and you've got to establish a lead, and you need the crowd in there into the game. Because the most recent home games, they're there for a minute and the other team finds a way to silence them, and then it feels like it's no longer a home game. When that place is rocking, nobody can hear. Now, you as the Detroit Lions have to come out and you have to force the hand, use the crowd to your advantage, and have that be, not to take it from Seattle, but have it be your 12th man. And have that pick you up. You have the game at home. Allow it to pick you up. Allow it to make up for some of the difference that you don't have in some of the places, like if St. Brown doesn't play or Laporta and all the guys that I've named. Take it and make it your advantage. It's there. How you perform, and we'll see. If they win the toss, you're going to take the ball. If you win the toss, you're going to defer. Typically, I'm a defer guy. I don't know if I'm a defer guy tonight. I'm thinking I want to take the ball and I want to go down the field and I want to score, and I'm not talking about 3. I'm talking about 7. Establish it. Get the crowd in it. Get that tension out of the building. Get the raucousness in the building. Get the doubt to creep in for Dallas and get the confidence to rise up for the Lions. We're here. We're not going anywhere. This is us. We're back. Let's fricking go. We're 7-5, and we're looking at 8-5. We got 5 games. We got to win out. It starts with 1. You can't get to the next till you take care of 1. So Dallas isn't going to go quietly. They're not. They're rolling right now. They feel like they can play anyone, anywhere, and that's the ultimate feeling. Problem for them is it started so late. But nevertheless, their chances are more limited than the Lions are, but they still have a chance. And they know they have to win out. So they're coming out and they're going to look to dagger you. They're playing the opposite of what I said. Maybe they're looking to take the ball and go down, if they win the toss, take the ball, go down the field, take the crowd in it. Everybody's double nervous. It's 7-0. Now you have an offense that has been inconsistent, we'll call it, has to answer against the defense that's playing really, really well. Overshown back for Dallas is gigantic. In my opinion, he's their best player on defense, and it's not even close. Yeah, you got the big boys up the middle. Yeah, you got Bland out in the secondary. Overshown is the Dallas Cowboys defense. And dude is all over the place. And off a knee like that, I think it was ACL, MCL, PCL. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible that he could be playing at this level right out the gate after missing all that time. I see this game being super high scoring. And I hope I'm right, because the Lions are going to have to score. Now, if we all just hit the rewind button and we go back, say, I don't know, what is it, 3 weeks, 4 weeks when they played Philly? After that Philly game and that defensive effort on the road, every freaking analyst was like, that's one of the best defensive efforts we've ever seen. You got another chance tonight. You got another chance tonight to do it. Aiden Hutchinson's taking a lot of heat. And you guys that are watching, if you disagree or you have thoughts, drop them here. I'm going to try to read everything that comes in. He has to show up tonight. He has to find a way. And for crying out loud, something has to come from the other end. This Davenport experiment, I'm just not a fan of it. Dude is like a body. It doesn't, there's no traction there. There's nothing there that's affecting the outcome of the flow of the other team, of the offense. If it's Mohammed, man, McNeil, get pressure up the middle and get to the quarterback. And for crying out loud, you're going to have to take some chances. I know a man team. You're going to have to take some type of chances and send an extra guy. You got to get him off his spot. You got to make him uncomfortable. I know you go to the dance with what you've done and who you are, and that's your identity. I mean, I got it. But I don't know if you're going to be able to play man on these guys like this. I don't know. You're not good enough on the back end. I don't know how that's all going to work out. So you better get creative. You better scheme it up. You better scheme up a way to rattle Prescott a little bit and force him off his spot. Maybe he's a little behind. Maybe he's a little high. Maybe he's just off. You better get him off. You better get the crowd in the game. Run 2 minute. Get Gibbs in the slot. Get the ball into Jamison Williams and Gibbs' hands. Have Tesla, if Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't play tonight, have Tesla be a part of the offense. Utilize him. He's got tremendous size, tremendous speed. He has the ability to basically box out a guy. We all know what Jamison can do. And for crying out loud, I understand you're a play action team. If you can't run play action and you have to drop back, can we not take 5 and 7 steps? Please? Can we do 3 steps and out? You have the guys that have the ability to do that. Let's have that be an option. Let's not just solely rely on play action and 5 and 7 step drops. Let's hurry up. Let's get to the line. Let's get a few more plays in because we're doing that. Let's get them a little bit, blowing air, get them a little bit exhausted, and apply pressure and take command. As a coach, I would tell you all the time, you're looking to break the will as quickly as you can. And then just pound and pound and pound. And then you basically can stomp it out. Now, you got to be good to do that, right? Not everybody can do that. But you hit the vulnerabilities, you hit the spots of weakness, you apply maximum pressure, and then you don't let up. And a lot of people throw their hands up and say, no mas, I don't have it. I don't have it anymore. They got us. Props to them. Tip your hat. It's basically make them say uncle. Impose your will and do it aggressively. And if you go down, you got to go down aggressively. Play all your cards. You got to treat this as this is the last game of the season. It's win or get in. It's the complete opposite of last year. And I'm here to tell you as a coach, as a longtime coach, and one of my last teams, we were 25-5. But this is basketball, of course. 25-4 going into the state, basically the state championship game. We lost that basically right at the end, and we ended up 25-5. So we got extended out, wins. The record's looking pretty, all of that type of stuff. You get way out over your skis. Like ideally, you want to do that as a coach. You don't want to be in this position. But there's the human element. There's the mindset that goes within relaxing and kind of standing down with intensity and aggressiveness last year versus this year. Sure, you get on a roll, you start pounding people, then you get a bye, then you can't ramp it up in that game, and then you're vulnerable and you're susceptible to somebody taking advantage of that. And I think that that's what happened last year. Now, you put the foot on the gas. You don't let it up because you can't, because if you do, there is no tomorrow. That's a completely different mindset. And I think we're going to see that tonight. I think it's going to show through. There will be no quit. I don't know exactly what the over is, but I have to guess it's probably around 53. If somebody has a phone and wants to look that up real quick, it's probably 53. I think we're sailing past that. I have a feeling they're not going to be able to stop us. And we're not going to be able to stop them. Not enough anyway. I think there's going to be a lot of points. And they're going to leave everything out. And we're going to leave everything out. So before I get into any of, let's see if I can get this back over here. All right, so tonight, Lions fans, Dallas, of course. Next week at the Rams. And they're looking to secure, maximum home field advantage throughout the playoffs, especially after last week's loss against Carolina. Get through that. You got Pittsburgh. That's a disaster zone. They should start Will Howard and sit down Aaron Rodgers like right now and move on from Mike Tomlin at the end of the year. Minnesota's a mess. Lots of injuries there too to the quarterback positions. Very, very unsettled right now. And then you have, of all teams, the Bears at the end, who are basically in full control. That's what you got left. You already lost to, well, you beat the Bears. All of these teams, you haven't lost to any of these teams. You're going to have to win them, man. You're going to have to win them all. Let me put this one up here. See if I make this large enough for you guys to see. Bears and Rams obviously at 9-3, Eagles at 8-4, Bucks at 7-5, and then Seattle and Green Bay are 9-3, then 8-3-1, and 9-4 Niners. Top 7 teams make it. 4 division winners, 3 wild card. Lions on the outside looking in at 7-5. You know, Frisco has 13 games played. We have 12. So there's obviously some disparity there because of that. You got to win out. And you have above you in the schedule here, obviously you have the Bears and you have the Rams. You've already lost 2 to the Packers. Hello. You got the Cowboys right behind you, 6-5-1. You got Carolina at 7-6. Below that, they're done. So it's 10 and up. Everyone vying for that. Man, the table's still set. I don't see them being 12-5 and missing the playoffs. I really don't. And if you go 12-5 and you miss the playoffs, even though the way that it happened, you might be pretty upset about that. But I guess, man, you go 12-5, you don't make the playoffs. There's some happiness that has to come from that. I mean, I just don't think you can kill yourself, for being that. Those of you on the show, those of you who join later, the QR code in the upper right-hand corner, grab your phone, scan it. That takes you right to our YouTube page. Smash that subscribe button. Lots more things going to be going. Lots are going up there currently. More and more will go up. Different shorts will go up. A lot of perspective going up. Luke returns to our show next week. Looking forward to having my co-host back. It's been a minute. I think 8 weeks he's been missing. He's had, life, some things going on in life that he had to address. Looking forward to having him back. When he gets back, we'll be working on a lot of different material that will be very relevant to not only fans, but to parents of sports players, and a lot of stuff. So stay tuned for that. We'll get that up on there, and we'll get that up on X. If you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, follow us on X. That's the number one place everything is, at PB Sports Talks, with an S on the end. Everything goes to X first, goes to YouTube second, and then in the third position would be Facebook. But those two, with X being number one, are where it's at. So please go ahead and scan that, subscribe, share with your friends, family, etc. Love to have you guys. We're getting close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. That's really key to be able to help the show monetize, make some money, and hopefully we can do this more full-time and get on national guests and stuff like that. But it really is about getting over a couple of thresholds. So your support would be very much appreciated. So, before I get to a final score on the Lions, I wanted to address the window for sports teams, the so-called window of winning that somehow it opens and closes, people think. So I touched on it in the open. Let me go through this here. So the fanatic looks at something strictly from a fan's perspective and says, oh, this is our chance to win. We have a window. It's 2 years, it's 3 years, it's 5 years, as if it's going to go away. Now, Lions fans tend to think that way, and it's hard to blame them, because when you lose for 50 or 60 years and you get to this point, you're not even secure in your mind to think that this is going to stay around long term. So, oh my gosh, this is our chance, and holy cow, this is the window, and if we don't win now, man, we're never going to win again. I have a totally different perspective. That's the one-prong approach from strictly a fanatic or a fan. Again, I'm long time fan, fanatical, even in, you could say. It's short for fanatical, but fanatical to the degree where, man, I used to wear this stuff on my sleeve. And, when I was really young, I would cry. And, like all the way through becoming an adult. And it's like, can we just please, right? So you get to this point where you start to win. But as I got a little bit older, and as I started coaching, and as I started winning at coaching, as I started building business and failed, and then started to succeed and built, a couple of really strong businesses, one very much in particular that lasted a strong, 10 years or 8 of the 10 years of being, in business with lots of employees and people making incredible livings. You never think of something as a window. As a coach or as a general manager or of a franchise owner. So the Ford family, they're not thinking of windows. Brad Holmes, he's not thinking of windows. Dan Campbell's not thinking of windows. They're thinking of it in terms of opportunities. And how can we best increase our advantage at certain times, but there is no window. Windows are for poorly run franchises / organizations. That's in business, in my opinion. That's in business and in sports. If you have great management of a sports team or a business, there is no window. I'm very, very passionate about this because I used to think the same thing until I became a coach, until I understood what it was like to build a winner, to build a program, to get buy-in, to establish an identity, and then get the right people, have the right system, get the buy-in from the players, the parents, the organization, and build something very special. And then you just keep reloading. I won at different places. 7 championships. Championships were won on 3 different teams. That's a system for each team, and they weren't always the most talented. Yes, I won the most championships as a head coach with the most talented teams, but there were lesser teams where something was won. So excellence and high level of execution is not part of life. It's a way of life, in my opinion. I believe that the Lions have that way of life now. So you even think of Belichick for a minute here. He's behind me here, and Brady in front of him. Was that a 20-year window for the New England Patriots? No, I don't think so. And Easy yesterday said, well, it's not. It is a window because you have to manage the salary cap. I was equating it to business, and I'll give the exact example that I was using. I was using Amazon as an example. And he's like, they don't have salary cap. They don't have that. Yeah, they do have salary cap. They have budgets. They have all sorts of things. You have economic turns and slowdowns is the equivalent of what a salary cap is. And you need to innovate, adapt, and adjust in real time on your feet and be nimble and navigate through different situations. In business, it's economy, it's labor, it's unemployment, it's all sorts of things that way. And there are a lot of outside factors that affect business that sometimes you don't have control over, but you try to prepare for. In the sports element, it's the same way in terms of, hey, salary cap, injuries, age on our roster, depth on our roster. They are the same, folks. I'll never forget. Somebody came up to me in the gym. I think it was during a practice or maybe right after practice. And it was the coach above me. And he came up to me and he said, you really run your team like a business, don't you? And I said, well, they're actually very similar because I owned a business at the same time. And I owned, or I was the head coach of the team. And he said, I see you talk about that a lot. I've heard you in it, pregame speeches and stuff and postgame speeches. And I hear the elements and kind of how you're meshing it. You know, why do you do that? I think he was asking me. And I explained the differences and the similarities between the two. And there are not very many differences. There's mostly similarities. You build a team in business, you build a team in sports. You need to build depth in business. You need to build depth in sports. You need to execute in both. You need to innovate and create in both. There's all sorts of things that go together. So this phrase about windows is nonsense. Windows are for, I don't know, teams like maybe the Tennessee Titans. When a team's fortunes change, it's generally from bad decisions. You're going to look back on it as a decision where somebody or something did not execute. Here's a real life example, in my opinion. So you had Ozzie Newsome. This is, I think, a really unique example of the Baltimore Ravens. Same owner, a very aggressive owner, a very successful owner in business. Why do you think these people go from the business world and they get in and they buy franchises? It's not just because of money. It's because they have a competitive drive to them and they know how to build teams. They put football people in place and you let them go, right? And if something's wrong, you change that, you make the right decisions. Not all of them make the right decisions, which is why it's, quote, called a window. But if you're making the right decisions and you do that repetitively over and over and over, it's just, Dan Campbell says it all the time. Right guy, right fit, right money. And if you have a philosophy and you have everybody on the same page working that philosophy, generally there's never going to be a window. It's just about reload and reboot. So as Jared Goff continues to get a little bit older, you are already thinking about how do we bridge that gap, or not bridge the gap, but how do we replace him in real time? Why do you think that they went and got Tesla? That is not just for the now, that is for the future. That is for, hey, when Amon-Ra St. Brown, gets a little bit older, hey, we got him. And you're constantly reloading, retooling, rebuilding. And as long as you don't lose sight of that, generally speaking, you're not going to hit these crazy rough patches. Now, to the Baltimore Ravens, Ozzie Newsome built an incredible franchise. And then Eric DeCosta took over. You had John Harbaugh in place. I think he's something like, 15, 16 years. Somewhere in that neighborhood, he's been the head coach. Listen to me, folks. John Harbaugh is 63 years old. They are toiling right now. They are spinning their wheels in Baltimore. They are nowhere near winning it all, in my opinion. They are nowhere in even close to legitimately competing for a Super Bowl. What did they do? They let Mike McDonald go, who's 38 years old, 25 years younger than John Harbaugh, is probably going to be one of the next great coaches of the next 20 years. You had him in your building and you let him go. How in the world did you let him go? I like John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh's he's great football guy. He's a great guy. He's a leader of men. He's all of those things. But it is not working. And I think it's done. It's archaic. How did Mike McDonald get so successful so fast? He's really, really, really good. You know who else is really, really, really good? John Schneider, the general manager for Seattle. How did he go off of Russell Wilson, off of Pete Carroll, get rid of Tyler Lockett, get rid of Metcalf, reboot and reload on the fly, and be where they are right now as a legitimate Super Bowl contender when they just won one 10 years ago? How is that? What's different about John Schneider? What's different about Les Snead? Les Snead, general manager of the Los Angeles Rams. They just won a Super Bowl, 5 years ago? You almost had McVay, retire. You almost had Stafford retire. You had Aaron Donald retire. How did you do this? Do you see where I'm going with this? These are unbelievably run franchises by the ultimate leaders in their sport. John Schneider, Les Snead, I believe Brad Holmes is of that same ilk. There are several. in the NFL. In the NBA, Sam Presti, you just won a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl NBA championship last year. I think you're 21-1 after last night's victory or the night before, whatever it is. And they have picks upon picks upon picks. And they got to 21-1. And Jalen Williams didn't return until like 2-3 games ago. And they have other guys like Lou Dort who have been out, huge chunk of the year. And they're winning and they're blowing teams out and they keep winning. And they got this stockpile of picks that goes like on forever. Sam Presti knows what he's doing. How were the Spurs so good for so long? And now they're good again. And they're going to be good again for so long. These are not windows. These are incredibly run organizations and franchises that are built to win in the short, the medium, and the long term. Now, are you going to win every year? No. But that doesn't, in my opinion, mean it's a window versus a window open versus a window closed. Yeah, you need to get, you had the first pick and you got Wemby on. I got it. And sometimes things are going to work a little bit. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's salary cap restraints and such. But guys, a lot of people are upset about the Lions and that they didn't act at the deadline. The reason that they didn't act, in my opinion, at the deadline is to make sure that they are salary cap disciplined and responsible so that this can maintain and go over the long term. And you're going to take your hits. You're going to take your shots. You're going to try on the par 4 to hit the green because it's 310 yards. You got to hook it a little bit and you get it to roll up and, you're putting eagle. There's moments, there's opportunities within what it is you're doing to kind of capitalize, but it's not a window. When Jared Goff is up, I don't expect this, quote, window to end for the Lions. When Amon-Ra St. Brown, if let's see, Kirby Joseph, let's say he could never play again. And this is determined that the knee is deteriorated to the point where he just can't perform at the level he needs to anymore. Maybe he becomes a reserve, or he's just not able to play anymore because they found what they found. Is your window closed? No, you go out and get another safety. And you don't necessarily do it through free agency. You do it through draft. If you have the ability to draft and you have the ability to get prospects all the way through your draft, and you understand how not to waste picks like the Lions did for so many years, you blow it year after year after year, you set yourself back 8, 10, 12 years. You want to say you closed your own window? Yeah, okay. You closed your own window because you have no idea how to run a franchise. And you take guys like Charles Rogers and Roy Williams and Mike Williams and Pettigrew at 20 and Hawkinson at 8 and Ebron at 10. It's like, what are you doing? You got holes all over the field. Same thing with the Raiders. What are you doing drafting Ashton Genty at number 6 when you got holes all over the field? What are you drafting a running back at 6 for? That's a luxury pick. You want to take a running back at 6, you better be a running back away. Like from winning it all or being right there to win it all. The Raiders ain't there. I thought they'd be the most improved team this year prior to the draft. Boy, was I wrong on that one. But I had them at like 11-6. I sure as hell didn't think they were competing for a Super Bowl. Somehow John Spytek and Tom Brady thought that they were. Oh, let's bring in Geno Smith, Pete Carroll. We've got Brock Bowers. And we're going to put Genty in there? No. And we're going to keep Max Crosby. You got so many holes. You're 7, 8, 9 players away, and you go take him in the 6th pick overall. Like, it makes no sense. And I said that before the draft. I said, take Mason Graham. He ended up not being there. He got taken the pick before, but you don't take Genty. You circle back. It was on record, their 37th pick. Take Travion Henderson. He's better. If not equal, he's better. Or if not better, he's equal to Genty. Makes no sense. So when you do dumb shit like that, then you don't have a window. That's what people, it's a window. It's like, enough with the window. It's about decisions. And those who can make the decisions better than the next guy or team or franchise, those are the ones who win consistently. It's not they go way up and then they go way down. You retain guys and you keep the continuity and the consistency and the sustainability with guys like Brad Holmes and like Dan Campbell. So Ben Johnson left and Aaron Glenn left. So our window's closed? No, it's not. No, it's not. The window's not closed this year. The window's not closed next year or the year after because there is no window. They're going to reload. They're going to reboot. They're going to re-innovate. They're going to continue to differentiate, and they will adapt their system as they go because they're managed properly, not improperly. They're not going to do these emotional off-kilter things and throw a wrench in the whole thing. Like, oh my God, let's go get Myles Garrett at $45 million. And then you got Aiden Hutchinson, who was up for $45 million himself. That's something and things like the Cincinnati Bengals do. Let's go give $126 million-ish to 3 players. They're all on offense, and we have holes all over the field. And then our master plan got jacked up because our star quarterback went down for 8 weeks or whatever it was. And then we went through experiments with Jake Browning and acquired Joe Flacco, and now you're back to Burrow, but you're out of it. That's not how you run a franchise. It's just not. You can't. You can't pay Higgins that money. I think he's very good. He's deserving of that money, but he's not deserving of that money on that team with Chase on the other end and with Burrow behind center. It's just not. You've got to develop the next guy and not pay him that kind of money. And then when he develops, I mean, you got tough decisions to make. Maybe Chase gets hurt and Higgins would become your number one guy, or Tinsley now would become your number one guy. But you cannot have everybody making number one money, and that's where you get yourself in trouble. And that's why they're not going to win this year. They're not going to win next year. They would have to hit a grand slam in the lottery, or in the draft, excuse me, and just hit a grand slam with 5 stud defensive players and then not have any injury. Then maybe. But you're financially restricted. And it's just a mess. So that's a poorly run franchise that some people say, oh, man, we got Chase, we got Higgins, we got Burrow, we got Hendrickson. This is our window. No, that's Mike Brown, who's a pathetic owner, and they're just a losing organization. Period. Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl, but where they been? You cannot manage your team like that and expect to keep going back. It just doesn't work that way, in my opinion. So the Lions are doing the right things. I know hey, man, it's been 60 years, whatever the number, and we want it. I get it. We're there. We're sniffing. We're around it. We were a half away. Nothing ever would compare in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan like a Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions. It is not, I say that all the time, it is not hockey town. It is not baseball town. Love the Pistons, and they've done some amazing things in the past, and now again, they're becoming significantly, and there you go. How about them decisions about the Pistons? Any sports fan can relate to this. You make the wrong choice after the wrong choice after the wrong choice, the wrong choice. What do you expect to happen? There is no consistency, no continuity, no stability, no identity, no anything. It's like throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what will stick. Now you have the right GM in place. You have the right coach in place. You keep them in place. You build support staff around them. And you obviously inherited Cade Cunningham, and you make decision after decision after decision to support that roster. They are deep. They are what? 4th, I mean, bad loss last night, 4th or 5th overall, or actually 2nd or 3rd overall in the NBA right now after the loss last night, maybe inside the top 5. This is not a window. It's not a Cade Cunningham window. It's develop the next guys behind him, and whenever Cade gets to a certain point, it's just reboot, reload. And the great teams can do that. They just can. So, tonight's game, again, I think it's high scoring. Let me look it up real quick because nobody answered here. I just want to take a look at the over because I think whatever it is, they're going past it. Yeah, just I said 53, 54. It's 54. Take the over 54. I think we're looking at something like a Lions 38-35 or 38-31 type of game. I'm going out on a limb one more time for them. Got to go down fighting. I think you'll see the best of this team. I do not think, and I know a lot of people are worried about this, I don't think they're going to lay an egg. I really don't. I think you will see the best of what they have. I think, that grit thing where you reach down and you have to find something and you have to prepare something. Like the best meal you've ever made, you got to make it, right? The best game plan you've ever had, you got to make it, right? And I think they have it. I really, truly believe that they have it. And now it's all about executing it. And it's about in-game. This is huge, guys. This is huge. And only the greats do this consistently. And many of them don't need to wait till halftime. Many do. But the greats, they don't. In-game adjustments. Real time, on your toes, on your feet, real time. Hey, if it's not working, through whatever, 9 minutes, you've had 2 possessions, let's say, and man, we look stagnant, or we look a little bit flat, whatever it is, hit the freaking gas and go into the 2-minute. You practice it every single game for a reason. How many times do you actually get in a 2-minute drill every week? Not all the time. What's wrong with using it with your backs up against the wall, get into a hurry up? Hopefully you catch them, not able to get personnel on the field, even though this stupid rule exists. Get their guys tired. Put yourself in a position. Apply maximum pressure. You got 4-2 on one side. You got 4-2 in the backfield. You got Tesla, who's 4-4. Make them run play after play after play after play after play. You need to pound it up inside. Get Montgomery in there. Put both backs in the backfield. Get creative. Get in space. Get creative with the play calling. Fake the bubble screen, the guy goes out. Looking for some wheel routes. Oh, they're going to fling it to Gibbs out of the backfield. Oh, there he goes. Stop and go, over the top, touchdown. Place goes crazy. Stuff like that. Easy to say. I get it. Hard to do. Everything looks great on paper. Everything looks great in post game or pregame, leading up to walkthrough game time. I did it for 8-9 years as a coach. Everything you draw up, it doesn't end up working like that all the time. If it did, man, everybody would be undefeated. But the ability to adjust in game tonight is huge. And a lot of people say that Dan Campbell's game management has suffered since he took over the play calling duties. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not a fan of the head coach of any team having the play calling duties. I mean, they follow along, but the actual play call duties, I'm not a fan of that. But as it relates to this team right now and what they had to do, I don't necessarily think the in-game calls of your head coach is being affected by his need to have to call offensive plays. I don't think so. Plus, there's no choice. Let's be honest. There's no choice. It is what it is. So, David Shaw, pass game coordinator, former Stanford coach, been around the NFL for quite some time. Everybody's got to come together tonight. Shepard better have a game plan. Those guys got to come out balls to the wall. Win the turnover battle, too. I know these are all talking points. Win the 50-50 battles, but in basketball, it's really relevant. 50-50 balls, 50-50 balls, 50-50 balls. You got to win those. So you like CEO coaching versus the head coaching calling plays? No, I like an offensive coordinator. I like the offensive coordinator calling it, to be honest. But the Lions don't have that luxury right now. And they know more than I do on what's really going on the inside. We can only go by what we see, but there's some sort of problem there with John Morton and his ability probably to communicate effectively, and his design and his ability, going back to the ability to adjust on the fly and be nimble and innovative and creative at the right times. That's the thing. pressing the right buttons and pulling the right strings at the right times and getting everything to work out, there's a real knack for that. Everybody ideally wants to do it, but very few in all the sports have the ability to do it. Tom Izzo, since we're talking about Michigan and Detroit sports, one of the greatest inbound coaches of all time at any level of basketball. Absolutely phenomenal. You know who else was? Brad Stevens. He's in the upper management of the Celtics now, was a coach for the Celtics when he was at Butler. I had inbound plays called Butler because of that. So situationally, they've got to be on point tonight. Situational awareness, situationally making plays. The ball bounces on the ground. Get on the ball. Don't look to pick up and run. Be disciplined. Fundamental football. Take your shots when they're there. Full-blown execution when they're there. Balls out. Everything there. Lions 38, Cowboys 31. Yeah, you don't do a global OC before the season. What this guy's saying is Colin Cowherd mentioned that Campbell should have done a global OC and DC search rather than hiring within. Yeah, maybe. And maybe he did. We don't know that. Maybe he thought about what would be possible out there and felt that what he had inside was better. And there was familiarity with John Morton. He was already with the Lions previous, went to Denver, and then came back. Neither here nor there. I guess at this point, it's kind of, I guess it's old news. But Lions 38-31 over the Cowboys, or 38-35, right in there. They keep the streak going. They're 7-5. You go to 8-5. You would basically eliminate the Cowboys. You keep your streak alive going into the Rams, at the Rams next week in a monster game against your former quarterback. That's what I'm rooting for. That's what I'm looking for. I will live tweet, live post on X tonight, giving you my real-time thoughts as they relate to what I've said here today. Hopefully it's all positive. And if I don't see some of the things that I've seen, I'm going to actually get pissed. And I have not gotten pissed at the Lions since the Campbell and Holmes era has started. I am extremely appreciative, and I love what they've done and what they are doing. But if I don't see the adjustments tonight, I'm going to be like that rabid fan that is pissed. It's like, how you cannot keep throwing it against the wall and expect a different outcome. That's insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, definition of insanity. If it's not working, you got to do something different. You've got to be creative. Like I say, 2-minute drill. This is the perfect time tonight. Them big fellas, Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark and some of the other guys there, get them running. Get them running. 3-step drop, ball out. Gibbs, line them up in the slot. Run Montgomery and Gibbs together. Give them different looks. Leave it all out on the table. Hold nothing back. Don't worry about being vanilla because what the Rams are watching on film. It's win or you're done. It's that simple. You lose tonight, there is no path. There is no path. Tonight's the night. This is a moment in Lions history that can be remembered forever. And I think Dan Campbell, I think Brad Holmes, I think the staff, I honestly think they know that. Dan Campbell's built that way. He understands the enormity of this moment. And you know what? Again, as a coach, as a player, you dream of these moments. Back against the wall, win or go home. It's everything. Every coach wants to be up 20. I'll give you a basketball thing. I did not like being up 20. And Luke will tell you when he comes back next week, we'll talk about this. You like to be up 20, but sometimes it gets a little too easy. And that human condition knocks you down. You're not as competitive. And every one of those guys on the field, 99% of NFL players, maybe not Abdul Carter of the Giants, dude's late. He keeps on getting disciplined. Maybe he just doesn't have it in him, that fire in him. He got there and maybe he can't press the gas anymore and this will all pass him by. I don't know. But when you get to the NFL level, generally you are as competitive as they come because you had to do certain things to get there. And so in this moment tonight, the true character gets revealed. You really, really find out what you have, who's all aboard, who's not in moments like this. I mean, that doesn't mean that somebody won't drop a ball or something like that, or somebody won't make a play, but max effort. Go max tonight. Lions 38-31 or 38-35. Tune in live. Again, scan the code up in the upper right-hand corner. Takes you to our YouTube page. Smash the subscribe button, please. Follow us on X at PB Sports Talks. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I will live tweet during the game. Tune in. Follow on X. I say it all the time. Hug someone. Hold someone. Love someone. Life is short. Thanks for joining, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.